Full disclosure, I don't feel like editing this at all. Welcome all, Soul here. April Fools! Yay! Yay! Repetition. Why does it annoy us so much? Why do we like it so much sometimes? You see, it's a bit confusing to wonder about what aspects of repetition become endearing and what aspects become annoying. Why do we like it when a callback joke is made several episodes prior, but when someone says the same thing 3 or more times in a row, we just want to kill them and murder them and make sure they're never heard from again? You see, repetition has been a staple in the modern media, in the modern day, and I make no claim that I am not guilty of it myself. However, there are some aspects of it which are just so schlock, I can barely stand to deal with it. I couldn't think of any more creative stuff to work with. It's always the same thing every year, same day, same people, all the time. Oh, our shop is closing down. Oh, guys, I can't handle it. I'm giving up content creation. Oh, we're done. We're done. It's intriguing to me, at least. And I've done no research for this video, quite honestly. I mean, I'm not even editing it properly, so I'm not going to give you any sort of philosophical conundrum or whatever in order to work it out. Quite honestly, if I had to guess myself, I would base it off of the idea of a callback, calling back to something that you value. That's gotta be the main gripe in it for everyone, at least I assume, because otherwise, what are you calling back to? Now, don't get me wrong, I admire the absolute chutzpah that you gotta have to call back to a joke that completely flopped on initiation. But in the end of it all, whether the callback is a new joke building off of it, or whether it's a reminder, it has to be to something that we valued, has to be to something that reminds us of the good times we had back on that joke, which is probably why repetition can be useful, can be enjoyable, right? You notice little patterns in our pattern-seeking neuroplastic brains that are constantly aching to make a new pathway between certain thoughts, and we just seek them out. That being said, why? Why do we crawl back to the same old traditions when they're so corroded by time? I think another example of this that I always thought of, well, that my friend brought up a lot, is the Marvel multiverse, or really any show that has to do with a bunch of multiverses and everything. And you have arguments on whether or not it's justified, and I understand it gives you a lot of room for creative storytelling. However, my main issue is that a story needs to know when it's over, when to end, when surely the lives of the characters will go on, and surely they'll go about things the way they do, and surely they'll continue to grow. But this chapter in their life that we've invested ourselves in and have clung onto, it's over. Don't get me wrong, I'll always be limerently searching for more, gazing into the horizon, thinking, why couldn't there have been more? Why couldn't I have had just a little bit more of that thing I grew to love so much? In the words of probably fucking everyone's dad or mom or some movie you watched at some time as a kid, if you love something, you've got to learn to let it go. And there's a couple other things you could tack on to the end right there. And oh my god, it's so cheesy to say, but the reason it's been said so much is because they kind of got a point. I think that's probably one of the most annoying things about growing up. Realizing that, like, oh, they don't get anything, they don't understand, and I mean, to be fair, to a degree they don't. You're you, no one else will be you. But it's looking at all those sayings, being like, those are dumb. Then growing up and being like, shit, but they're right. Fuck. They're right, they're correct. You know? And I think, in general, that's sort of the reason why repetition does get stale, right? With the multiverse theory thing that I brought up earlier. Don't get me wrong, you can go endlessly and you can have more and more of what you wanted. However, at some point, it just takes away from the initial point of the story. At some point, it's no longer about what it used to be about. And whether sequels cover new grounds or anything, that's justified. However, the importance of a concise, told story to literature, to any form of media, is that you need to be able to start somewhere and end somewhere. And that time in between, it can mean the world to you. And that time won't ever go away. It will stick with you. It will stay inside of you. That's an important aspect of yourself. You can't forget that. But I think we all need to just be aware of when is too much. And with that being said, that's all I have to say on the topic. When something is too much, when we need to let it rest, can we please stop pretending like we're gonna delete our channels on April 1st? Can you instead, like, make a post about, like, your brother getting caught in a car accident or something? Or, make a post about, like, a game you're developing, and then people get pissed off, and they're like, "Ah, what the hell? It looks so cool!" And then, like, maybe call back to that, where people were looking at that game release trailer, and they're like, "Oh, it would have been so cool!" And then you're like, "Well, what if I did make it, if I hit this goal?" You know? You can build off it. You can build a community off it, right? You can be creative, right? I'm not being creative. I'm just ranting into a mic because, honestly, I thought when I did that Qualia video that it was just gonna drop. But that it was gonna be like an absolute flop. But apparently you guys just like to listen to me talking like this for an extended amount of time. And I appreciate that. I do. It's honestly very charming. Love you all for that. But I suppose it's the little inner romantic in me that wants to just talk about these things, that wants to voice his opinions, that wants to cry out into the world a song of both pain and love, just for the sake of knowing that I tried in the first place. So, with all that, sun's setting, but I'll see you again. Peace.